Hello, everyone. I am Hannah, evolutionary astrologer, and we are officially in eclipse season. But what on earth does it actually mean? And why do astrologers get so vocal and excited, right? Every time eclipse season rolls around. What are the eclipses such a big deal? Well, let's chat about it. So we're going to look at two eclipses happening this August. We're going to have the solar eclipse on August 12th, and I'm actually going to focus a little bit more on this one today, and then I will make a second video unpacking the lunar eclipse, which will happen on August 28th, so around 2 weeks from now. So we're going to talk about what signs they're in, the themes they bring, and how they might show up in our lives, but also in the collective, in the world as well. But first of all, let's start with the basics. What is eclipse season, right? And we're in it already. We're in it right now. And a lot of people actually think that the eclipse season is only the days of the eclipses. Not at all. It's actually a much bigger window of time. So generally speaking, eclipse season, they last around 6 weeks. So we can actually think about them as anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks. And it begins roughly, just so you have an idea, 2 weeks, 3 to 2 weeks before the solar eclipse, which is the new moon. And then it continues through the time between the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse, so the new moon and the full moon. And then it extends for about 2 to 3 weeks after the second eclipse, the lunar eclipse. So this is so much more than just two dates on the calendar. We're really speaking about an entire energetic season. And yes, the eclipses days are very, very important, right? We need to pay attention. But what happens before, during, and after is just as meaningful. And we should be paying attention to that as well. Because eclipse season is very much like eclipses act like portals. And I know that sounds a little dramatic, but it's very much this image, this sense that the gates between Earth and the cosmos, heaven and earth, swing open for a little while, which means that there's a lot of movement. A lot of things are coming in, a lot of things are leaving, and life can get quite busy. And the energy of things can move much faster than they usually do. It's a time of movement and acceleration, and things can really speed up. And you can feel that some things in your life can shift quite rapidly. And it's a time where there is a much bigger intelligence at work here. Personally, in my work, in my life, I'm very careful with words like fate and destiny because they can they bring this idea that we have no free will, that we have no choice. And in evolutionary astrology, which is the astrology that I practice and love, we absolutely free will matters. We really take into consideration that each individual person make choices, and our choices matter, right? We're not just puppets being dragged around by the planets, being controlled by the planets. But there are moments in life when there's definitely something larger participating in the conversation maybe more than it usually does. And this is what eclipse season feels like to me. You know, life or whatever name you want to use, maybe you can use the name goddess or God or the greater intelligence or the cosmos or the universe, source, existence, whatever word resonates in your heart. But it's the time where that is really on the wheel and taking you, to where you need to go. and bringing you the experiences or removing things, people, experiences to get you ready for the next chapter. It's another way of saying it. It's like the hand of the cosmos, like the hand of the fates or divine timing. In this, whatever that is, whatever name resonates with you, that has a greater, broader perspective than we do, right? And it's a moment, eclipse season, that often bring experiences that help us realign with wherever our soul is meant to go next. And because of that, things can move quite fast, right? Events speed up, doors open, doors close, people appear, people leave, plans can suddenly change. And that takes me to my biggest suggestion for you, an invitation for you during this eclipse season, which is pay attention. Become very curious about what's unfolding, not paranoid or fearful, not trying to force meaning into every little thing, but just be aware. Because chances are that whatever is happening in your life isn't random, and life is communicating with you. Your psyche is communicating with you. Your soul ultimately is communicating with you. So we can say that eclipse season is very much a time to respond to life than trying to control every detail. We all love our plans. I certainly do, right? But it's that time to really move with whatever is happening. And it doesn't mean we stay at a passive, just, going with the flow of things and not having a say or not making moves. But see if the current is taking you to those places, is supportive of those moves, right? Um, because it's that time where we might have our plans and our spreadsheets and we know exactly what's happening and where we're going. But then when the eclipse season walks in and starts, life can say, that's adorable, but you're meant to go somewhere else and you're meant to do something else. And sometimes things that happen during eclipse season are different. They don't unfold according to our plans, right? They can even unfold to something even better. That doesn't mean that everything is going to be fun and joyful and comfortable. Sometimes it's messy and emotional, and there can be losses. Sometimes it can be quite confusing and even disappointing, right? You lose your job, or a relationship ends, or a friend decides that they don't want to be your friend anymore, or there's something that can be new and even sudden. Um, and that can be quite dramatic and difficult. But it is really something larger than us, than you, than me, that is saying, okay, maybe it's now time for something different. And sometimes that's going to feel difficult, and sometimes it's going to feel amazing. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit of both, right? Now, if something dramatic isn't happening for you, externally speaking, know that eclipse season can also happen very much inside of us. So this could be a realization, this could be a shift in perspective, this could be a deep knowing, a new idea, an important conversation, something that might take you to a place where you realize, wow, I can't keep doing this anymore, or this version of me doesn't fit, or I've outgrown this, or this isn't aligned with me anymore, right? Nobody else around you may even notice, but inside, something has changed within, right? So those internal eclipses can also be as life-changing and meaningful as the external ones. But ultimately, it takes us back to the same idea, the same intention, which, that's what evolutionary astrology brings, which is we're really looking at this through the lenses of your soul's evolution, right? So that's what the eclipse season is about. Sometimes it's going to be a gentle tap on the shoulder. Sometimes it's going to be more enthusiastic or dramatic or big. That's really going to depend a lot on how and where this eclipse is happening for you in your own natal chart. But regardless of if it's small, medium, or big, remember that it is inviting us. It's a time where life is inviting us to the next stage of our journey, right? And another thing too is that you might have this deeper awareness, like maybe during the eclipse season, you're not seeing something important happening or meaningful, but then later on, months or even years later, you might realize, oh, this decision happened during the eclipse season. Something that looked very minor or small ended up leading to something much bigger, an opportunity, a big change, etc. Right? Or I didn't realize I was starting a brand new chapter during that eclipse season. I only realized that even maybe 6 months, years later. But again, stay present. We're really standing at the gates. The portal is open. Stay present, stay curious, stay flexible because things are moving. So I want to talk to you about this upcoming eclipse. This is August 12th, and it's going to be happening on the 20th degree of Leo. So this is a solar eclipse, which means it's a new moon. And new moons bring that energy of new beginnings, planting seeds, right? Fresh new starts. So when you add an eclipse to the mix, it's very much like a new moon with superpowers. And it's happening at the 20th degree of Leo. So if you have planets around those degrees, this eclipse is speaking directly to you. So Leo planets also in any planets in the fixed axis, so Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. I would say around 15 degrees of the sign, all the way to around 25, that this eclipse is really important to you. Of course, the tighter it is to the 20th degree, that's going to be even more relevant for you. Um, Another degree that we need to pay attention to if you have planets around that degree is the 29th degree of Leo and Aquarius, because that's where the nodes of the moon are currently sitting. And this actually brings me to a very important thing to tell you, which is, why do eclipses happening? Eclipse only happen because of the nodes of the moon. So the nodes, they are not planets, they're 2 points where the moon's orbit crosses the path of the sun from our perspective here on planet Earth. So we can think of them, the nodes of the moon, as these cosmic crossroads. So when a new moon or when a full moon happens close enough to these nodes, to these cosmic crossroads, instead of getting an, an ordinary new moon or full moon, we get the eclipses. So that's why eclipses only happen during eclipse season. And what happens during those weeks of eclipse season is that the nodes of the moon, they're always moving, but during eclipse season, they appear to slow down and station very close to the eclipse points. So we can think about how it's almost like the entire sky pauses for a moment, and this evolutionary axis becomes loud and more concentrated and more potent and available. So if you have planets around the 29 degree of Leo, Aquarius, again, the fixed signs, Taurus and Scorpio, that's going to be very, very powerful for you. And because it's the 29th degree, we can actually bring that to the following sign. For example, if you have planets in Virgo, early Pisces, early Gemini, and early Sag, this eclipse is also really important to you because it's the nodes of the moon are speaking to those planets. Okay. Now, let's get back to the 20th degree of Leo, which is where this eclipse is happening. What are the themes that Leo brings to us? Leo is a fire sign, right? Leo is deeply, deeply personal, and it asks all of us, what lights your inner fire? What excites you? What gives you energy instead of draining it? And ultimately, what makes your heart feel full, joyful, and say yes to life, yes to this? Because when we're living from that heart-centered place, we naturally shine, right? And that's the most beautiful thing about the sign of Leo, the archetype of Leo, is that when we allow ourselves to shine, we actually give other people permission to do the same, right? So it's not just about being seen or being recognized, but it's about becoming a source of life, and becoming a source of light. So this eclipse is really inviting us back into that sense of purpose, back into joy, back into creativity, back into connecting with our own inner life that keeps us alive, that keeps us thriving, that keeps us wanting to be here, to exist here, to create, to do things, and to give back to life itself. When I speak about creativity, I'm speaking about anything that makes your heart happy, like painting, like creating music, etc. But I'm also bringing something even deeper to this word because it's again anything that you bring into existence. For example, some people create businesses, right? Some people create books, some people create art, some people create communities, some people create children, healing, or an entire new life for yourself, right? So, whatever it is, Leo says, create. And it reminds us that every single one of us was born here to create something that didn't exist before. And even if it's something that has been created many, many times, for example, there's many, many books, right? But the one that is born from you, from your own unique Leo, from your own unique fire, that is unique to you. And that's a gift to all of us, to existence and life themselves. So that's the question that this eclipse brings. What wants to be born through you? It also speaks about leadership, not necessarily the leadership that means you're the loudest person in the room or that you're taking a stage necessarily, but sometimes leadership is simply having the courage to take a risk, to go first, to be authentic, to express yourself honestly, to stop hiding, to allow yourself to be seen, or your creation to be seen, right? Visibility can be scary. Sharing our gifts can really take us to a vulnerable place. Putting your work, your creativity in the world, into the world can be risky. But Leo reminds us that hiding our light doesn't actually help anyone. Um, there's something else about this eclipse that feels also very significant, which is the planet Jupiter. Jupiter is currently traveling through Leo, so it's amplifying. Jupiter amplifies whatever it touches, right? It makes it grow, it opens doors. So this heavy Leo energy here is really, really inviting us to take the stage. So maybe if you've been quietly working on a project or thinking about starting something, a business, a book, launching something, creating something, or simply becoming more visible, this could be a great window to take these courageous steps forward. Another thing that I want to mention is also that Leo is connected with children, fertility, and our pets, which our pets are also our children. The beings and the creations that we love and protect and pour our hearts into. So for some people, these themes may become also more active over this eclipse season in the coming months as well, because remember that The eclipse, wherever the eclipses are happening, they are really that the energy of the next 6 months that will be unfolding as well. So again, the invitation here is to live from your heart. It is to create, to lead, to express yourself, and to don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to let your light be seen in whatever that means to you, right? Now, what might we see on the world's stage? So here's a few things that we might see collectively speaking, because eclipses don't just affect individuals, people, right? They also bring collective shifts. So, um, what are some of the things that we might see? Changes in leadership. We can see leaders stepping down, new leaders emerging, or existing leaders becoming more prominent. We can also see scandals in terms of leadership. And when I speak about leadership, I'm not just speaking about politics. I'm talking about leadership in any realm, in any industry, in our communities, in our homes, in our families, in our work. We can see greater attention to charismatic figures, public personalities, influencers, celebrities. There can be a surge in creativity, entertainment, the arts, music, film, fashion, all the artistic industries. We can also see more conversations around authentic leadership. What does that mean? What about legacy? Um, what about, is this leader, is this person, is this leadership driven by ego and personal ambition, or is there a true desire to serve and to lead from the heart? So you see how the theme of leadership is really strong here, including the more negative expressions of it as well. Important developments with children. Father, Leo is also our fathers. Fertility, birth rates, family related issues. Those are all very important here. We can also see greater visibility of the younger generations, of younger people, youth movements, stepping more into the light, taking a greater stage, stepping into leadership roles. We also see more focus on play, joy, celebration, cultural expression. We can see people feeling called to follow their passions, right? As I was just speaking about this, and launch their businesses, their creative businesses, or turn hobbies into meaningful work. It's like, I want to follow my heart more. We can also see a lot related to heart health and cardiovascular well-being. So Leo traditionally is associated with the heart. So I spoke a lot about the symbolic, following the heart, right? That connection with the heart. But if we bring this to a physical level, to a medical level, we also need to be extra mindful relating to the health of our heart and the cardiovascular system. We might also see significant stories involving royalty, right? Presidents, celebrities, as I already mentioned, high profile public figures, and anyone who is in a position of visibility. And questions also about who do we want to follow, and what healthy leadership looks like in our lives, how we embody that in our own lives, in whatever context that means to us, to each one of us, but also collectively speaking, the leaders in our community, the leaders in our cities, in our countries, etc. So these are some of the themes that we might see emerging over the coming weeks and months. I mean, like I mentioned, we are already in this eclipse season. We've been in this for at least 2, 3 weeks now. So these are themes that are already, on the stage here. Uh, and of course, we're all experience the eclipse a little bit different depending on where it's happening in our charts. But remember that this is a season of growth and realignment and movement and passion and connection with the heart. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I am wishing you a beautiful, wonderful eclipse season and eclipse blessings. Remember to trust your life. If it's something positive and fun and joyful, trust it. If it's something that looks negative and difficult and challenging, trust it even harder. If things don't exactly go as planned, stay curious, stay present, engage with the process, and really respond to life. Move with wherever your life is taking you instead of resisting it. And remember that you're not just a passive observer of your life. You are a conscious creator. So co-create with this much larger part of yourself that is now really active during this eclipse period. And be gentle with yourself, listen to your heart, take good care of your body, especially your heart and cardiovascular system. Follow what lights you up and trust deeply that your soul knows exactly where to lead you. And I will also report back in a few days with a video on the second eclipse of this season, which is the lunar eclipse on August 28th at 4 degrees of Pisces. This eclipse has a very different energy, and together we're going to unpack what it means, who's likely, to be affected, and how we can work with it consciously. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'd love if you could give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear how this eclipse is showing up in your life, what you've been noticing. And thank you so much for being here. And until next time, take really good care of yourself, and happy eclipse season and many, many blessings.